According to Alfred Kroeber, anthropology is the most scientific of all humanities and the most humanistic of all sciences. Hi, on behalf of Canada IAS, I welcome you all to this wonderful course in anthropology for civil services examination. I'm pretty sure most of you all would have not even heard about a discipline called as anthropology until you began the preparation for IAS examination, isn't it? Why is it so? There are hardly very few universities in our country which offer a curriculum in anthropology. And that is why many students, irrespective of whether they are in colleges or universities, would have not come across this discipline called as anthropology. However, once you began your preparation for civil services examination, you must have come across this discipline called as anthropology, and that anthropology optional is very scoring and so on, right? So what is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of humankind, or we can say anthropology is the study of human beings, or anthropology is the study of man, right? So anthropology is a science that deals with the origins, the physical and cultural development, the biological characteristics, the social customs and beliefs of humankind, which we call it as holism. What is holism? We say anthropology is a holistic subject, right? First of all, anthropology is the study of man. We can say anthropology is a study of us human beings. So can there be anything much more interesting than studying about our own selves? Definitely not, isn't it? And that is what makes anthropology so unique and interesting. Anthropology is the study of humankind. That is, here we study about ourselves. We study about the origin, about the cultural developments, about the physical development. Okay? We study about the human society. We study about various cultural developments. Not just that, we study about human beings from all perspective and from all angles. That is, from the origin, from the development, both in time and space, right? Right from the genetic level, or studying about the genetics of human beings, up to studying the society and the culture of human beings. We study every aspect in every perspective of human beings in anthropology. And that is what differentiates anthropology from all other disciplines which are also concerned or which also concentrate on study of human beings. So what are the other disciplines? There are various disciplines which study humans, isn't it? So sociology studies about the human society, right? Psychologists study the human mind. Physicians study about the human anatomy and physiology. Archaeologists study about human beings. In human geography, we study about population studies, settlement patterns, and so on. So, like this, we have n number of disciplines which study about human beings. However, anthropology does not focus on a single perspective or a particular aspect of human beings. In fact, it studies about human beings from all angles and 360-degree perspective, right? We study about the genetic aspects, we study about the origin, we study about the evolution, we study about the human society, the various social institutions, right? We also study a little bit about human anatomy. Like this, we study about the culture of human beings. So we study every aspect of human beings, and that's what makes it so interesting, right? So anthropology is a holistic subject wherein we study human beings not just from a particular angle or perspective, but from a 360-degree point of view and from a complete, you know, in the sense, in age, space, and time, from a complete perspective, we study human beings And that is why we call anthropology as a holistic subject, and that is what we call it as holism. Okay, so the focus of anthropology is on understanding yourself in relation to others, right? So here, when we say we are studying about us, right, we are trying to understand us in relation to others. And that brings us to two important concepts in anthropology, that is ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. What we mean by ethnocentrism? Ethnocentrism means having a skewed or having a cultural superiority complex. That is, when I say I am ethnocentric, it means that I feel that my own culture, my own practices, my own customs, beliefs, practices, all of this is superior, and I look at somebody else's culture as inferior in comparison to mine. That is what we mean by ethnocentrism, right? So, ethnocentric or being ethnocentric or having the attitude of ethnocentrism means having a superiority over one's own practices and culture while looking down upon another's culture. So, as human beings, we are quite judgmental about people belonging to different geographies, societies, belonging to different customs, practices, religion, isn't it? So, when you are studying this subject and once you finish this course on anthropology, not just you get a lot of information and a lot of knowledge about your own self and about your own evolution, but also your perspective towards many things in life will change. If you do not believe, complete this course and you will definitely accept to what I said just now. So this course is not just about giving you knowledge to just qualify an examination or to score very good score in a particular examination, but it altogether brings about a change in your way of thinking and a change in your personality. Human beings, as a matter of fact, are quite judgmental, isn't it? I wouldn't say all of them, but at least most of us are quite judgmental. Very easily we judge people based on various criteria, isn't it? Ranging from very simple things like skin color to their geographies, to their economic status, to the way they dress, their customs, beliefs, practices, religion which they follow. Like this, you can find people being judgmental and being, um, being biased towards people who do not belong to their own community or who do not belong to their own set of values, customs, belief system, and so on. But if you look at any culture or any practices as a member being from that culture, then you will actually understand what is the significance of those practices, right? Say, for example, people who are vegetarians, right? They might not be very happy with other people consuming non-vegetarian food, right? But you must understand that in certain places, right, where it is not very, the climate is very hospitable and very good, there is not extremes of cold and so on, it is very easy to be a vegetarian, right? Say, take for example in India, anywhere in India you cannot find very extreme temperature, freezing cold temperatures, so it is quite easy for us to be vegetarians. But imagine a person living in extreme climatic conditions like the Arctic regions or even in Nepal. So, in these regions, because of the extreme cold climatic condition and also because of this extreme cold, there is no possibility of vegetation over there. So, you cannot expect any crops being grown over there, right? So, in those places, it becomes an ecological consumption, sorry, it becomes an ecological necessity to have non vegetarian food. So, here you do not have a choice to be a vegetarian, isn't it? So, in these extremely harsh cold climatic conditions, one cannot just consume vegetarian food and keep their body warm, right? That is one problem. And the second one is, in these extreme cold climatic conditions, hardly there's any vegetation. So you cannot even think about raising crops, doing agriculture, raising food grains, and then utilizing those food grains for your consumption. Whereas here, the easier option or the only available option is to consume non-vegetarian food. So what this food does is, one, it provides sufficient heat which is necessary for our body to sustain in those cold climatic conditions, and another, it is an ecological compulsion because we cannot raise any food crops over there, so we do not even have the question of being vegetarian. So consumption of non-vegetarian food in those regions is an ecological consumption. Sorry, it is Tibet, not Nepal. Okay, so Nepal is almost like India. The temperature doesn't fluctuate so badly. I was mentioning Tibet, right? In Tibet, the temperature goes very low in certain months, and it becomes very difficult to sustain there without consumption of non-vegetarian food, right? So now, as a person belonging to that culture or a member belonging to that community, if you understand this, you feel that there's nothing wrong in being a vegetarian, right? But as a member belonging to some other part of the world, if you look at them and feel that, oh, why are they consuming non vegetarian food? Then you might not feel very good about it, right? So, like this, there are various customs, beliefs, practices, traditions which are followed by different sections of people all across the globe, right? Take very simple practices which we follow in India. If you walk around, if you travel to any places on highways, you might see on those, near the big trees on the sides of the highways, they would have kept some small stones, or you can say bricks, isn't it? Red color or orange color bricks, and they would have put some turmeric and some vermilion. When we say vermilion, it means kumkum, right? Which we place it on a forehead. So they keep a brick over there, and over that they would have put some turmeric, some vermilion, they place some flowers over there, and they worship that stone or that brick as a god. So people from nearby areas, they come there, they occasionally conduct pujas over there, and they pray to god. And many a times you can even notice that people who are even traveling on the highways will take a break, they'll stop there, they'll worship the god, and they'll move further. Now, say for example, a person from some other country, say Britain or US, comes to India for the very first time and witnesses such a practice. See, we being Indians, we are familiar with this practice, isn't it? And even with the worship of snake god, isn't it? So there is a festival called as Nagar Panchami, which is celebrated every year. So during this festival, what people do is they will go to the what do you call that, ant hill. Actually, that is the dwelling place of the snake, but it is built by the ants. So they go to this place which is called as the ant hill, and they will put in some eggs, they put in some milk, and they put some turmeric, flowers, fruits, and everything, and they worship the snake god. Right. So we, being born and raised in the Indian culture, these practices are quite common and we are very much aware of these practices. But say, for instance, a person from some other country, say Europe, say some European country or from US, they come to India for the very first time and they witness all these practices being practiced in India. How hilarious they might find that, isn't it? They might even find it hilarious, or they might even find it very, it is. They might even find it as stupid also, isn't it? We might not find it stupid because that is our religion. We believe in that. We believe in the snake god, and we believe that that particular brick is a god, and with that belief we go and worship over there. But for them, they do not know all those things, and they might find these simple, similar, these practices as funny or stupid and so on. So a person or a member belonging to one particular region or community or a section of the society may look at the practices and the belief system of another society as low. This perspective is called as ethnocentrism. Whereas a member, if you look at that practice or the custom or the belief as a member of that society, as a member being born and living in that particular society, then this will not look absurd for you, right? So this is, we'll be discussing in depth about ethnocentrism, and the antidote to ethnocentrism is cultural relativism. What do you mean by cultural relativism? Cultural relativism means looking at as a society, looking at a culture or a society as a member of that society and not as an outsider. Okay? So any practice or belief or customs or traditions or practices if I look at it as being a member of that society, then I will not be able to judge it like that. And I will not look at it from an inferior point of view. In fact, I will try to understand the significance of that and what is the reason for practicing that particular aspect or that particular custom, right? So we've been discussing in detail about ethnocentrism, cultural relativism, and so on. So the focus of anthropology is understanding yourself in relation to others, and this particular discipline, anthropology, as I already told you, it is not just with the intention of scoring good marks in your examination, but it will also help you develop interpersonal skills so that you will be able to understand different things in the society and you will be able to work with different kinds of people. So, first and foremost, now let's discuss about what are the why anthropology is so unique in comparison to other subjects which also study human beings. So I told you sociology concentrates on human society. Even in anthropology, we will be studying various social institutions like marriage, family, kinship, religion, political institutions, and so on. However, in anthropology, we are skewed towards the study of the primitive people, or what we call it as the tribal people. So, in anthropology, even though we study all these social institutions, we will be studying about the religion of the tribal population, about the political setup of the tribal societies, about how marriage is conducted in a tribal setup, about the different kinds of families which exist in a tribal population. So here we are concentrating and focusing more on the tribal study in comparison to sociology, which concentrates on the general society. Got it? So in anthropology, in paper 2, we have almost 50% of paper 2, which covers tribal studies, wherein we will be discussing about various tribes, not just the tribes in India, but also tribes all across the globe. We'll be studying about the tribal religion, their political organizations, the various developmental plans, policies, programs for tribal development, the approaches to tribal studies. We'll be discussing forest policies, we'll be discussing the problems of tribal rehabilitation and resettlement, right? So like this, there are many topics which in tribal studies, which occupies around 50% of the paper 2, which we'll be discussing each one of them in detail. In addition to that, in paper 1, we have various topics which focuses on Indian society, wherein we discuss about the various religions in our society. We discuss about the caste, significance of caste, right? Various religions, how the religions got birth in our country, and what are the religions which came into our country from elsewhere, and how each one of these religions, say Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, how each one of these religions impacted our Indian society, and what are the contributions of each one of these religions to our society, and not just that, how each one of these religions have made an enormous contribution to the tribal society also, right? So we will be discussing various tribal issues and various topics on Indian society. In addition to will Paleolithic studies, Mesolithic studies, Neolithic studies, right? So not just we will not just study human beings from evolutionary perspective, but also from cultural perspective as well. Got it? So in time and space, we will be studying about the evolution and development of human beings. Now let's discuss in brief about what are the perks of studying anthropology and why it is one of the highest scoring optional subject in UPSC examination. So first and foremost, many students ask us, why should I choose anthropology? Let me tell you, among most of the optional subjects, okay, when we compare to most of the optional subjects which are available in the UPSC examination, anthropology has a very short syllabus. If you take out the syllabus copy and if you start reading it, there might be many terms which you find are very confusing or very difficult or you have never heard of, and the length of the syllabus also might extend to 3 or 4 pages. And you might think that, oh God, there is so much, there are so many chapters, the length of the syllabus is so huge. How long will it take for me to complete the syllabus? But believe me, the syllabus looks lengthy. In reality, it is not so. Okay, so there are few chapters which look so lengthy, but you can finish those entire chapters in within 2 to 3 hours. That is how it is. Okay, so though the syllabus looks very long and let the words look intimidating, the actual syllabus is very short, and very easily you can complete the entire course within 2.5 to 3 months. Whereas if you compare it with other optional subjects like geography or other public administration, you need a much longer time. Almost you will need twice the time. Okay, so if you take geography optional, you might require at least 6 months to complete geography once. Whereas in that 6 months, you can very easily and comfortably finish your anthropology twice. So that is one very important advantage of taking anthropology. And in addition to that, it is also very highly scoring. So if you see the UPSC scores, or if you see the toppers list of UPSC toppers in the last 10 years, you can see that at least there will be 2 to 3 toppers in the top 10 every year who have opted for anthropology optional. Why is it so? Because as I already told you, it has a short syllabus. It is a very interesting subject because obviously we are studying about ourselves, isn't it? So it is very interesting, and also it is a scientific subject, right? So it is slightly bent towards the scientific style. But again, do not fear that only people who are from the scientific background, say people who have studied BSc or engineering alone, can take up these subjects. I can tell you, any student who has studied science up to matriculation, that is up to 10th standard, can very easily and comfortably take up anthropology optional and get a very, very good score. Okay, so this is a very commonly asked question. It is an FAQ asked by many subjects, irrespective of where we conduct the workshop in the country. There will be few students who come up to us and ask us, ma'am, is it possible for me to study anthropology because I'm from arts background, I'm from finance background, I'm from economic background or engineering background? Is it exclusively meant for people from life science background or from medicine background? Absolutely not. Okay, so anthropology is a subject which can be studied by anyone. So if you've studied if you've studied science up to your matriculation or 10th standard, that is more than sufficient for you to understand anthropology. Fine. Then it also, another highlight of anthropology, it not just deals with the biological aspects but also the social aspects of human beings. As I already told you, here we'll be studying about human genetics, we'll be studying about evolution, we'll be studying about human physiology and anatomy in brief. But also at the same time, we'll also be discussing about the social institutions, about Indian society, about the various social institutions like marriage, family, kinship. So here we not just study human beings from the biological perspective, but from the sociological perspective also. And that is why it is a blend of all of this which makes anthropology unique and interesting. Okay, so it is ideal for students from any background. Then, so we can broadly divide anthropology into sections like physical anthropology, sociocultural anthropology, Indian society, tribal studies, and so on. In physical anthropology, we'll study about the origin and the evolution of man's physical characters, and it goes on with the diversity of forms. So actually speaking, if you see, physical anthropology forms just around 40% of the entire syllabus, and there is no need that you need to have very good knowledge about the human anatomy. Like you need to know there is how many bones are there in the entire human body, and what is the much more advanced knowledge about that. We will be discussing in detail about every single thing which you need to know and which you need to understand in anthropology. So do not fear and do not panic. Okay, right from the cellular level, that is, what is a cell? Okay, what is a cell wall? What is a mitochondria? What is endoplasmic reticulum? So right from the basics, so whatever you studied in your high school, right from 8, 9, 10, about the cell, what are genes, what are the different bones which are present in a human body, like this, we will begin right from the basics and take you to the advanced level. So do not fear that you'll have to study about um, uh, the different, the terms which appear complex as of now, like say prognathism, maxilla, mandible. Okay, so we will have very few terms which we will be discussing in detail, and as and how you follow the classes, you will become an expert much more than us. Okay. Then we also have sociocultural anthropology, wherein we seek to understand the relations and patterns of life of people as revealed through their established institutions and groups such as kinship and so on. In Indian anthropology, we'll be discussing about the society and the culture of India, and that is altogether a much diverse topic wherein we discuss a lot about Indian traditions, beliefs, patterns, culture, about each and everything about India, about the cultural diversity of our country, and we'll also be studying about the most interesting section in paper 2, that is tribal studies. So I hope I have given you a brief insight into how our lectures will be and how your interesting journey will go ahead. So let's meet in our further lectures. Okay. If you have any queries, we shall get in touch soon. Thank you.